Hey guys, sorry I haven't made a video in a while. Currently stationed at an Air Force base in pilot training, so haven't really been able to make videos. But here's a video. I recently picked up a truck camper. This is a Lance 810. It's 8 foot 6 inches and it weighs just over 2,000 pounds. I actually have the weight slips in the truck. We'll go over that in a second. But the reason for this video, we're going to be installing airbags on this truck. The payload capacity is 2,000 pounds for a truck camper. That's actually a sticker in the glove box, and this camper weighs just a bit over that. And I'll go ahead and show you. I have the truck running right now because it's been in a storage lot. The battery was kind of dead. But here is the Lance 810, 8 foot 6 inches. This isn't really going to be a camper review video. I could make one if you guys want one. But for this truck, I'm going to have to extend this tape measure so we can see the jacks are off the ground. See right there. And so here, I'm off the ground to fender. And that's almost right at 35. It's like 34 3/4. And on this side, it's a little higher. The way this camper's set up, it's a little heavier on one side. So we're at 35 on this side. And one of the biggest reasons I want to put airbags on the truck is going down the highway. The truck handles it fine. Going down the highway, I do hit the bump stops. Let's see if I can zoom in on these here. Let's see. It's pretty close. Get a better angle, maybe. But it's pretty close, and when you're going over overpasses, it does bottom out. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be installing airbags. Should be pretty quick. But this is for guys who own a K3500 and want to put airbags on their truck. And we can go over those stickers real quick, and then we'll jump in to installing. So these are, I went to a CAT scale. These are official. This is the truck empty, no camper. You can see steer axle 4100, drive axle 2920. This is with two people, so roughly 250 pounds, but we'll nix that because I mean you're always gonna have people in your truck when you're going camping. So empty weight was 7,020 pounds, and then with the camper, and this was, I would say there's at least a minimum 300 pounds of gear in the camper. We're at 9,760, which is about 2,740 pounds, but with two people you can subtract that. The camper weighs roughly 2,500 pounds, and that's about right. The sticker for this camper is like 2,100 pounds, so campers are always going to have a heavier weight than normal. So yeah, let's go ahead and get some bags installed. I'm gonna take the camper off the truck, and then I'll get some measurements with the camper off the truck, just so we can see how much of a difference this weight makes. All right, camper's off the truck. I just have the power cord going to charge the house battery, but let's see what we got now as far as height. Ground to, oh, I gotta extend my tape measure there. All right, ground to top here, 38 1/4. That's a solid 4 inches just on this one side. So let's get those bags installed, and hopefully we can drive down the road at least 37. That's my plan. You know, keep the rake of the truck. Because I noticed I've put about 1,000 miles with this camper, probably more than that, on this truck over the course of a year. And my tires are wearing out kind of weird. I know on the fronts they're wearing out kind of weird. And I think it's just mainly because this truck porpoises a lot. Whenever this heavy load is in the back and I'm hitting bumps and stuff. So let's get those airbags installed. All right, here's everything laid out on the table. Got the parts. This is the Firestone 2025 kit. I just put in 2000 K3500 and it recommended this kit. So I think what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to time lapse me installing one side first, and then I'll provide instruction on the other side because I've never installed this, and I don't want to waste the video time with snags or anything. So Alright guys, I got the driver's side in. I'm I've still got to paint, but driver's side is definitely more difficult. And I'll go over some tips with you guys, and I'm gonna go through installing the right side. Let me get down here and show you a couple things I had to do. So the inner frame channel mount that they want you to put in, I had to cut and notch. Let me see if I can get the camera in a better angle here. Cut and notch for this brake line, and I'll show you up on the bench how I drew that out. I just didn't want that interfering, and to have the holes line up, you pretty much have to notch it. I didn't want this bracket rubbing up against that brake line. Another thing down here for the mounting bracket, I had to use the B side, and when you get your instructions, you'll understand that this side is the B side, this side is the A side, meaning the space between the axle and frame, one side is longer, and you need to use the B side. I had to use the B side for K3500 4x4 for the spacing to be right. And then another thing on your plate is they only have these holes on one side for the bracket here. So you're gonna want these holes towards the center of the truck, just to, because you only have that little bit of clearance there. You won't be able to get a bolt on this side because of this. So let me go up on the bench here and show you how I made those cuts. Another thing I had to do on this piece here, this inner bracket piece, was I cut about a 1/4 inch off of each top ear right here, and then I cut a 1/4 inch off on the bottom lip here. Now, I probably did not have to do that, but when I was installing it, I didn't want to hammer this up because the tolerances are pretty tight. And once I cut about a 1/4 inch off of each side, it was able to slide in easily, and the bag was able to slide up and sandwich really easily. And then of course, the notch that I'm talking about, kind of drew it in Sharpie here. So I went from here up and kind of like a triangle, just to clear that brake line. It shouldn't have any effect as far as strength goes. I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of strength in here than potentially ruin a brake line. But the right side should definitely be a lot easier. There's no brake lines to deal with. And I also had to cut my exhaust off because previous owner who bought this truck had the passenger driver side exhaust routing. He wanted dual exhaust, and it had it routing right next to this bag, and I couldn't even install the bag without it touching the exhaust. So that got cut off. I'm just gonna have to put a turn down on that for now. But let's go ahead and go through the installation of the right side, and I can talk through on how to install these. All right, if you're not a big instruction guy like me, I went ahead and went through the instructions to do this. Like I said, I got the driver's side already installed. So this is the bottom plate, and I'm gonna be using the B side, but as far as orientation of this goes, that only matters as far as your port here. And we'll go ahead and install this on the plate using the provided hex bolt, and it also has the thread locker on there. Now this is gonna be, I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten this down because it's going on the right side and I'm familiar with how to do it now. There are two different sides here as far as a B goes. So this is angled this way and this is straight. It doesn't matter. The only thing you need to worry about is these square holes here for your carriage bolts on how it will mount. So this side right here has the two holes where the clamp will go, the long carriage bolts. These guys right here will go through, and this needs to be pointed towards the center of your axle, the pumpkin basically. So essentially it's gonna sit on top of the axle like so. Oops. Yeah, B-side. So yeah, it's gonna sit like so, like that. So as far as orientation goes for the camera, I got 2 holes here. The center of the axle will be here. And now I need to spin this to where this is gonna be pointing towards the axle as well. I can get this in. I'm trying to do this as much as possible. There we go. This is all straightforward stuff. Go ahead and fast forward to that. That's how it's going to sit. So now go ahead and tighten this bottom piece. It don't need to be super tight. There's really no need for it to be super tight. It's just there to keep the bag from moving. And you really don't want it super tight actually, because you need the orientation of these to be straight. All right, now, since this is the passenger side, we're going to use this heat shield here. And that's just simply gonna sit right there, like that. And I'll probably adjust this, I think like so, for the exhaust pipe. This, I'm gonna take these off. Now, if you're 4x4, you're gonna wanna use these holes right here, the elongated holes. And then you can go ahead and cinch these down. There's no requirement on these. Just try to make them as centered as possible. Use the provided locking nuts. I can already tell we have to re-loosen that thing on the bottom. That's good. Cool. It's actually pretty straight. There you have it. There's your assembled piece. And now we need to just go run to the other side of the truck and take the bump stop off. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, your bump stop now is going to be 5/8 bolt and nut. These are tricky. One, because I've got an exhaust pipe in the way, so can't do this way. There you go. That's off. Don't need it more. Bolt out. All right. This side is going to be 10 times easier than the other side. Only got a lot more to work with. And that's most likely the reason why I get more. All right, so now you can go ahead and throw the bag in. Like I said, I actually put this on backwards, the exhaust shield, so I'm going to cut that out. All right, now the fun part of getting the bag in there. It's resting where it needs to go. It's more or less just a wrestling match, especially on the other side, but it's really not that bad. much it. Now, as far as centering goes, you can kind of eyeball your other one here, but really kind of just falls into place on this axle. And that's about it. All right. Just wanted to fall right in place. And about there. I'm gonna make her center with the other one. That looks about right. And the next thing you can do, is install the clamp on the bottom. You can see what I'm talking about with these bolts here. You don't have a lot of clearance, but you have the required clearance needed. Get those carriage bolts in there. Just want to get her not tight, just snug. Just so we can mark the holes up top, and you'll see why in a second. Make sure she's straight, kind of where I want her. That looks pretty darn perfect right there, where she sat. All right, snug those down just a little bit more. Now that they're snug, I'll show you why. Instructions don't really tell you to do that, but let me move the camera up because this is going to be the next part. Drilling L holes. Alright, as you can see, the camera not be shaky, got a big gap right here. Alright, it's pretty much the same on that side. The reason I put the clamp on the bottom because the next thing you got to do, you're probably going to need a second person. You got to raise this up to the bottom of the frame and have someone mark said frame for your holes. So let's go ahead and get someone and mark those holes. I can't really hold it with one hand and mark, so go ahead and do that. If you don't have a second person, you can use one of these quick grip clamps, which I'm going to be using to help you get the hole. Grab another one so we can get this one perfect. Another one. Now I can make my holes. All right. Your holes are marked. That, and then you can squish that back down and get it out of the way. And then obviously make sure there's nothing on the back side before you start drilling. I'm gonna time lapse this drill, and it's just 2 holes. All right, holes are drilled. Now I gotta see if this will fit without me having to trim. Hopefully not. Hopefully I don't have to trim. I got the bolts here just in case. But the ears right here go up. Get it close. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to trim just to make this work. The thing you can do is line up your holes. That way. Let's see. And as it's suspected. So it's not going. One thing I could do is widen these ears. I don't want to do that. I don't want to, make that weaker. Let me bring the camera in just to show y'all what I'm talking about. So right in here, and then underneath the truck, you can see how much of a gap there is. And that's why I had to cut. And this thing it's sandwiched. I even tried clamping it, to bring it in, but I just think their tooling is just a hair off. And it doesn't make for an easy install. So let me go ahead and whack those off with the grinder, and then I'll show you how much more easier it is to install it. All right, here's the cut product. I just threw Rattle Can Black on there. Let's see how well she fits now. And I'll bring the camera in if she fits better. She should. That should be good. Line up the holes. All right. Look at that. It slides right up. Let me show you here. So I'm cutting just a little bit of 1/4 inch off. She now slides up perfectly. A little bit of gap, but let's get her tightened up. And then for this tip, we use those clamps again, since we're only working by ourselves here. And then we'll get her in there. There you go. Let's see here. This one on. Lined up there yet. Let's see. Line up a little better. Looks good. So just slide a bolt in there. Sometimes it helps. Trays in there. There, just through. There we go. Sweet. All I gotta do is put the nuts on, and then we'll start with the air line. All right, I have all the air lines plumbed up, and this is the passenger side. I actually went forward with the line just because of my exhaust. I don't think this is a stock exhaust, this side. In fact, it's not. So I went forward and then looped around. And then I have these, I picked up these body clips on Amazon. It's just an assortment. And I was able to use some holes on the frame to put these nice little plastic keepers, and went up to that one and then down. I wanted to stay on the frame. I didn't want to go on the bed at all because I think I'm eventually going to go to a flatbed on this truck. Got a little wire tie there, and here and here. It's basically the same on that side. Now, this is what I really like. I have a ranch hand rear bumper, and I was able to utilize the bottom license plate holes. They were already pre-drilled, right size and everything, and this is just a simple little plastic cap, but I plan on getting a little better cap here, just to make it look a little bit more stock, but kind of don't even notice it, which is really nice. Didn't have to use the bracket that came with it. I think now all I'm gonna do is spray some undercoating on all this, fill her up, make sure there's no leaks, and then see what it does as far as the camper goes. I think I'm gonna go to 60 psi at first and try that. So let's get on to that. All right, guys, bags are installed. I have them inflated at 20 psi. Gave it a quick little test drive. Seems to ride better or smoother. I'm gonna give you guys a quick little time lapse of me loading the truck camper onto the truck. And I'm gonna leave the bags at 20 psi, and then we'll fill it up probably to about 60, because that's what I've seen guys in truck forums fill it up to. And we'll go from there. Alright, camper's on the truck and feet are off. So with the bag sitting at 20 psi unloaded and the camper on it, I just checked, it brought the bag pressure up to about 40 psi. It's at like 38.5. So at 38.5 psi loaded, this side is 35.25 and the other side is 36.25, which tells me that the left side of the camper is much heavier, which would make sense. There's a lot more stuff on the left side of the camper. So I'm gonna load these up to 60 psi. I'll probably do 65 on the left, 60 on the right, and we'll see what that brings the suspension up to. All right, I got left bag at about 65 psi, right bag's at 60 psi, and we're sitting at right at 36.75. And with no camper, the ground offender is about 38.25. So I got about, what, 2 inches of droop, you may call it. But I don't want to run I want to run the bag at 60 psi just to see how it runs. I don't want it too stiff, and this should definitely help out the suspension. I still am retaining a rake in the truck, which before, you know, it looked like the truck was leveled, if not the nose was kind of up without these bags. So I would say it's a solid investment. We got to give her a test drive, put some miles on her and see, but so far these Firestone bags are great. Not sponsored by them, but so far they were pretty easy to install. Just a little modifying, which I expect with this older generation truck, but so far they're great. Now I'm gonna let this sit here 60 to 65 psi, and then I'll come back in a few days and make sure they're holding air. But other than that, yeah, because I want to do that before I actually take this truck on a trip. But that's going to be a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching.